All right, welcome to LinkedIn Live with Microsoft and Insight. Today's LinkedIn Live is Insight Education powered by Microsoft, driving student outcomes by securely deploying and managing low-cost Windows 11 devices. So today it's going to be me and Sean. I'm going to first introduce myself, and then Sean will introduce himself. So I have over 9 years of experience working in the IT industry. I've been with Insight for almost 10 months, focusing on Microsoft and education, K-12, higher ed, helping schools transition to modern classroom, modern management with Windows 11, Autopilot, Microsoft 365, and aligning Insight services and resources to help accomplish their IT goals. Sean, you want to intro yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Garrett. My name is Sean Struzek. I am a channel sales exec for U.S. education at Microsoft, and I've got over 20 years of experience in IT sales. Upon joining Microsoft almost over 6 years ago, I'm managing both partner and distribution communities, and I get to help reinvent productivity and personalized computing in K through 12 schools by supporting the adoption of Microsoft modern classroom collaboration technologies. And what that specifically means is Windows devices, InTune for education, Windows 11 as a whole, and Microsoft 365.
Great. So me and Sean are going to be discussing and helping you guys learn how utilizing Microsoft solutions for education will help streamline management, deployment, and securing your low-cost devices built for education. So specifically, we're going to be focusing on modern management, which includes Intune and Intune for education, provisioning, modern deployment, which includes zero-touch deployment with Autopilot, and modern security and how that fits into Microsoft 365, A1, A3, and A5 licensing. So if you guys do have any questions throughout this LinkedIn Live, please go ahead and enter the comments. We'll try and answer them at the end. But we do have a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. So, Sean, I know there's a lot that we're going to discuss, but why should we want to first start with why they should upgrade to Windows device? So, what challenges have you seen with schools going one-to-one so quickly in the last couple of years?
Yeah, so before the pandemic, we had a few schools going one-to-one. Mostly there were classrooms of devices. We had carts, stuff like that, and a lot of schools had many different operating systems already in the schools. So when the pandemic hit, and having very little time to actually plan a strategy, schools had to purchase something, right? Anything to put in the hands of students to participate in that online learning. And obviously not the best experience from beginning to end, right? Many students had limited or no internet access at home, which doesn't lead to very equitable learning. Some of the devices schools had purchased could only be used online and had very limited capacity to provide that good experience with the multitude of applications that were now being required of these devices because the students and faculty were remote, and they were thrown at them because they weren't full-fledged PCs, so it just didn't work really well on those devices. But one of our showcase schools up in Seattle had already transitioned to a Microsoft and Windows device solution before the pandemic hit in 2020. So their transition to remote learning was absolutely seamless, right? And one day they're home, still doing all their work. When they came back to school, again, same scenario, very, very seamless. And what we also saw is a lot of schools adopted a lot of technology, right, over the last couple of years, either by teacher or administration pressures or advice, or were given the freedom to find anything that might help with the remote learning. Because again, this was all brand new, right? So there was a lot of applications being deployed, whether they were free or trial version. But unfortunately, a lot of those things open up a lot of security risks, right, for students and internal data. And so now, right, as we're kind of getting out of this pandemic, we got a lot of schools with a lot of duplication of applications, right, which were either the free or coming up, and they're going to have to start paying, but they've already got other solutions. But the great thing is right, we're kind of getting that kind of pause, that little breath of fresh air for a minute to kind of really plan for what's to come, right? What's in the next school year and beyond. And this digital transformation that has been forced on schools over a very short time was hard, right? It was a lot of work, but the great thing is that we're here, right? And it's been done. We just have to help and fine tune it a little bit, and that's where Microsoft comes in, because Microsoft really is dedicated to providing that best solution for the classroom.
Yeah. So why in particular should schools adopt Windows?
So Microsoft has made incredible advancements with Windows, right? I think one of the biggest from an IT perspective is the ability to deploy now zero touch and manage via the web, right? So gone are the days of imaging devices, managing multiple images, spending summers wiping and rebuilding operating systems. Microsoft has made it a lot easier, faster, and cheaper to deploy and manage Windows devices. We've also built a ton of accessibility tools in Windows to help students with disabilities achieve more and be on a level playing field with the rest of their peers. And the user interface is simplified. It's customizable to make that experience, even for younger students, right, better. And Windows is more secure and faster, allowing for multiple applications to be open, even on low-spec, low-cost Windows devices. And we also worked really, really closely with our OEM partners like Lenovo, HP, Dell, Acer, Asus, and Evolve 3 to bring the largest portfolio of devices from any price point, persona, or configuration that your school could want. Meaning schools can standardize now on one operating system, Windows, because of all the options. We have very low cost sub $300 devices all the way up the stack to more advanced computing power to esports, gaming rigs, really anything in between, from desktops, laptops, all-in-ones, two-in-ones. There is just a huge portfolio because of the amount of different models, different types of devices our OEM partners have. And as schools prepare, these students for outside the classroom, right, you can feel confident that the utilization of Windows devices and Office will greatly prepare those students for post-education careers.
Yeah, and this is kind of where Insight kind of comes in on that. So Insight, if you're not familiar, is a leading solutions integrator, which means we're not just a reseller and we're not just a value-added partner. We're kind of a combination of things. So Insight has a unique value proposition with global capabilities to support any school's needs. As Sean said, we have a portfolio of OEM partners, Lenovo, HP, Dell, Acer, Asus, that we have a strong strategic partnership with to help support our schools and to provide the best solutions and best features to guarantee that they have the best fit in their classroom and their school. And really along those lines, we want to ensure that everything also fits into their existing environments. So we work closely with our OEMs to help support anything from, if that's from special pricing to demoing of a device, to ensure that when they're ready to decide, our clients are feeling confident that any of our products are going to work and have no issues going forward with their existing technologies in place. And then to kind of add on that, Insight also offers pre-sales consulting with more than 30 years of expertise, with over 1,500 service professionals and with over 3,000 technical certifications. So basically, we're very certified. We can work to answer any of your questions so you can stay informed, make informed decisions, and basically make what's best for your school, your IT, and your students. And to kind of transition to our first topic with modern management, why do you think it's important to start thinking about modern management in education?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we have to, right? It's something that we've seen, kind of grow over the last, probably 5 to 8 years. It's really just this modern way to manage and deploy devices. And so when we kind of start thinking about that, right, there's so many more devices in a school environment today, right? So many more, and they come in all different shapes, sizes, configurations, and price points. And so with modern management of these devices, the great thing is you don't have to worry about creating that specific image for that specific device, right? With modern management, you don't ever have to touch the device to manage it and make changes, which means, things like at the end of the year, right? At the end of your collection and summer wiping and reloading of images and separate images for separate personas and the difficulty of making changes in real time based on the needs of students and teachers is gone. Right? We can do all of that stuff. We don't have to do all that stuff that we used to do anymore. We can do it in a much more streamlined, efficient way, again, to make that a better process, not only for IT, but also for end users, right? So for faculty and students, again, it's just easier, faster, and they can get what they need. And so our endpoint manager is InTune. InTune allows for the management of Windows, but also iOS, Mac OS, Android, and now in public preview, Chrome OS. So this will streamline IT managing and deploying of devices across the school district with the ability to manage multiple operating systems, So time and budgets can be freed up by eliminating other operating system management software, right, that can only manage one OS. So again, multiple things to kind of consider. Yep, modern management of those devices, again, streamlines the process of using, managing, deploying, and supporting those devices, but also utilizing things like InTune. Now you can manage a lot of different devices in your environment, because we know a lot of schools have multiple operating systems. So again, we want to help and streamline that process as well.
Yeah, when I talk to like schools and IT, they're always kind of asking about that, and also about provisioning. So from a Microsoft perspective, what is modern provisioning?
Yeah, great question. And it follows really along with the modern management and modern deployment. Rather than creating that specific image for that specific device and persona, right? IT can now create provisioning packets that set up that device and the policies the way that that specific student, faculty, or teacher needs it to be set up. And it really does free up a lot of IT's time when managing and deploying Windows devices. Provisioning the device is much less resource intensive, right? Devices can be set up while en route, right, to your location or to a faculty's home or a student's home. IT can set all the policies required for that device so that when it lands, the student or faculty just signs in with their credentials, and the device is provisioned in the background and ready to go for that person. This creates an opportunity for IT to truly customize that device to the needs of that student faculty. And like think about it, a lot younger students probably don't need the full solution of Office, right, in their on their device, or other applications that the school might use. And when you look at the higher grades, they don't need to use some of the software and programs maybe younger students might use. So again, it's truly being able to kind of customize that device. And we look at provisioning, right? We don't have to have the same exact device and the same exact specifications and the same exact price point, right, on that device. It doesn't matter the device now, right? We are basically saying that specific student or that specific faculty member gets this on their device, and that we don't have to worry about, again, having a specific image for a specific device. So again, it allows for, the ability to kind of get the right devices, the devices that you can get quickly if you need them quickly, and it does not have to be the same.
And to kind of add to that, when we talk to clients and IT, we mentioned InTune, and they're not really familiar with InTune for education. What is InTune for education?
Yeah, it's a great question, because there's a little bit of confusion of, we've got this big program called InTune that, again, is our endpoint manager solution. And then we also have something called InTune for education. Now, we built this InTune for education on the backbone of full-blown InTune, right? So when you purchase InTune for education, you actually get the full InTune, console as well. But InTune for Education was created to simplify the user interface, right? Allowing for more novice IT personnel, or potentially teachers and students who are helping support IT, or maybe they're kind of getting into and learning about IT and management of devices. It's actually a great tool to kind of teach that as well. But enrolling devices can be done in just 4 easy steps, and policies can be changed quickly to accommodate different use cases in classrooms. Right, so let's say, example, normal policy for a school is to shut up USB keys in cameras, right? It's all about security, making sure the devices are secure. But let's say, we're in Mrs. Smith's science class, and the students need their camera on because they're going to take a picture and present on their experiments. This can quickly be changed on those devices just for Mrs. Smith's science class, utilizing InTune or InTune for Education. So again, allows for that ability to customize. But like I said, InTune for Education is just a simpler, easier solution or user interface to help and manage those devices. But again, they get the full suite of InTune as well.
Yeah, and from a Insight partner perspective, we know that education is continuing to be a transition for schools as they're trying to figure out still how to manage and maintain, especially with all these one-to-one devices. So Insight has a large focus on education, and we understand that it's important for schools like to have identity and integration, endpoint deployment and management, and overall organizational security, because every school, different and adopts at different rates. We are focused on being flexible, and we can offer our professional services to fit any need. So if that's anything from a one-time service arrangement or an ongoing contracted managed service, no matter what it is, Insight has those capabilities to help these schools become successful in their transformation.
Yeah. Awesome.
And we discussed the modern management and provisioning, but what is the modern way to deploy these devices after provisioning?
Yeah, awesome. So okay, kind of think about the journey we just talked about, right? We've got Windows devices. We talked about managing those devices via InTune. We talked about provisioning those devices, and all that stuff is core to being able to deploy now devices in a very fast, easy, streamlined way. And so with this cloud management, right, the opportunity to deploy devices zero touch is realized. And this is really done all through what we call autopilot. So once your Azure AD is set up and you're utilizing Intune, IT never has to touch that device to set it up, to make changes, or even to reset and wipe it. Garrett, I'll let you go into a little bit more details of autopilot, but really, this allows IT to free up time to tackle more important tasks at the school, right? When we bundle all of this stuff together, and one of those more important tasks we'll talk about in a second is security. But I'll let you talk about autopilot, Garrett.
Yeah, so Insight has been doing autopilot, helping schools for 3-4 years now. So we have a great process down. A lot of people I talk to still don't really know what it is. So basically what it is, it's using your Intune Azure Active Directory to be able to do autopilot. It allows you to pre-provision all your settings, all your apps and policies before the devices are even shipped out. Then the Insight can capture that device hardware information, upload that device into your Microsoft tenant, and you never even have to touch the device. The user receives and turns on the device, logs in with their school credentials, and autopilot takes it from there, pulling down all those settings, policies, and apps that you already pre-provisioned, and everything is basically done behind the scenes when the user logs in. We've been very successful with that, and our clients have been very successful. But we also have kind of a step up on that is we have fulfillment success centers that focus on white glove autopilot, zero touch provisioning, where Insight can receive the devices and start that provisioning process instead of the user, while also adding on like asset tagging or kitting, or even check for DOA. So if any devices are down, they can replace those ASAP.
Awesome.
So to kind of transition to our third topic, today we discussed already the modern way to provision and deploy. What are some of the security concerns that schools have to deal with?
Yeah, and this is really kind of, really true and dear to my heart, and this is a very unfortunate thing, right? Schools are the most attacked out of any other industry segments in the U.S. And probably even worldwide. And unfortunately, there are many reasons for this, right? One being the kids are young, right, and usually aren't monitoring their identities until they're much older, right? And so they start applying for credit cards, school loans, and auto loans, and they find out, their identity's been stolen. They've got 2 cars and a mortgage and all this other stuff, and it's just not a good situation. Second, the sheer amount of devices that were deployed in schools, and things like BYOD, on top of the many applications that were utilized over the last couple of years, whether they're free trials or even paid, open up a huge amount of exposure to students' data and school data. And so schools can't afford to lose $1 in ransomware attacks, and I certainly don't want mine or my kids' data out in the dark web at all. And so schools need to put security at the forefront, and Microsoft is hyper-focused on security. We are up and to the right in 5 Gartner Magic Quadrants, and with the adoption of things like Windows devices and Microsoft 365 and the security features that are built into that, this actually has the ability to lower insurance premiums that a lot of schools are paying for ransomware. So it's great to have this insurance from ransomware attacks, but we have to remember, right, that once that data is off premises, right, gone from the school systems, it's out there for good. So again, no amount of insurance is going to, again, help guarantee that all of that data that got pulled out is going to come back and nobody else is going to get access to it.
And then with Microsoft tools and products, how do they address some of these security concerns that you just addressed?
Yeah, so it really all starts with Windows 11, right? Windows 11 provides a powerful security from chip to cloud with that zero trust principles at the core, right? So securing the data and access anywhere to keep schools protected and productive. With Windows 11, the hardware and the software work together to protect from the CPU all the way up to the cloud. And zero touch principles means always authenticating and authorized based on the data points, which include things like the identity, location, device health, service or workload, data classifications, and then any anomalies that might be out there. And we limit user access with just in time and just enough access, risk-based adoptive policies, and then data protection. Lastly, let's assume we assume breach, right? Assume breach. And the reason why we do this is we minimize that blast radius in the segments access. With Windows 11, user uses virtualization-based security and secure boot built in and enables by default on new CPUs. So Windows 11 helps remove passwords by using Microsoft Authenticator app or Windows Hello or FIDO2 security keys, smart cards, or verification codes. And Windows 11 uses the TPM 2.0. And Microsoft offers comprehensive cloud services for identity storage and access management. Microsoft includes in Windows 11 devices things like Defender Antivirus and Defender Smart Screen, just to name a few. And so those are bolted in solutions, right? Not bolted on third-party solutions. So it's going to work well with that solution. And IT can enforce compliance and conditional access with InTune and MDM services such as InTune that work with Azure Active Directory to control the access to applications and data right through the cloud. And so now, we don't have enough time to really go through into each and every one of them, but there's a ton of security tools built into not only just Windows 11, but also included with Microsoft 365. And really critical to this and is helping to secure the identities and controlling this access is all about Azure AD. So we've got a lot of our clients and schools are using Active Directory on-prem. We need to again start migrating and moving into Azure AD into the cloud to again unlock the ability to increase the security around the identities of the school, students, faculty, administration, and then allowing that ability to control that access.
Yeah, and this is kind of where Insight is also very strong in. We have a very, very strong security presence with our pre-sales and professional services. We can help with any of the security questions that they have or need, anything from assessments and testing, cloud security, or risk and compliance. We can help our clients achieve the peace of mind with visibility so they know who is in and out of their network so they can monitor that, help them leverage that role-based kind of type control security to protect that data, the platforms, and existing or emerging threats that basically they could or have in the future, and basically help securely take advantage of the cloud, as you mentioned, and IoT and mobility to improve their security posture. There's a lot of good things with Microsoft and Insight going on, but to kind of bring everything together with our modern deployment or modern provisioning and security, what licensing would you recommend that provides the school with all those necessary requirements?
Right. Yeah. I mean, again, listening to this, our LinkedIn Live today, and you're kind of seeing about provisioning and InTune for Active Directory, and we're talking about Azure, Azure Active Directory, and all these other components. You're like, oh my gosh, like now I'm going to have to go out and buy a whole bunch of different security suites, and it's going to be all kinds of complicated and stuff like that. And actually, we've tried to make it as simple as possible at Microsoft when we talk about licensing this solution that we kind of really talked about today. So a lot of people are very familiar with Office 365, right? Office 365 is our Office suite. We have something now called Microsoft 365, and when we look at Microsoft 365, it basically takes Office, right, and then bundles all the other things that we kind of talked about today. So we've got Office, and then we got endpoint mobility and security, which is going to include things like InTune for education, Azure Active Directory, a multitude of security pieces and suites that are included in there. And then we throw in some fun stuff like Minecraft, right? Minecraft is a phenomenal game-based learning tool. I mean, we have a lot of schools that are moving into esports and getting their students ready to compete in high school and go get scholarships and stuff for college, which is great. Hey, why not start off with Minecraft? It's a game that everybody knows. It's got 500 free lesson plans to actually teach utilizing the game. There's a coding application in it to teach coding and get more involved with computer science. And again, you can actually do some very low cost esports engagements with Minecraft, because again, we got low cost Windows devices. Minecraft works really great on those, and you can create some very inexpensive game esports leagues and competition just by using Minecraft and our low-cost Windows devices.
Great. And then Office are included in Microsoft 365. So our partners, they can bundle everything, have all those great solutions, and be able to kind of address any of their needs that they currently have.
Yeah, so if you're currently using Office 365, I highly encourage you to look at Microsoft 365 because, again, of all the stuff that's included in here, it's a bundled, it's an easy, one SKU. We have student use benefits as well. So if the faculty and staff are licensed, students get it for free. So it's really a win-win, and again, allows and unlocks all these capabilities we just talked about from Windows, again, because it includes Azure Active Directory. So we move everybody into the cloud from an identity standpoint. We've got InTune to manage those devices. And then once we have all those two things ready to go, now we can deploy these devices via autopilot, and you never have to touch the device through its existence until you're ready to retire that device.
Awesome. It's great solutions. Well, I know we are approaching the 30 minutes. So Sean, I do want to thank you for joining us live. We had a great information on the modern management, deployment, and provisioning. And to kind of summarize everything, Insight is a leading solutions integrator. We have a portfolio of OEM partners that we have a strong strategic partnership with to help support and engage all our schools and clients. Insight offers pre-sales consulting, professional services, where we can work with you to answer all your device questions and help you make those informed decisions and kind of what options best fit your school, students, and your IT needs. And we know that every school is a different place of adoption. Insight is very flexible on how we can offer these services, so they're not all one fit all. And we can help you with our autopilot, which allows for zero touch deployment to make managing and deploying devices easier and cheaper. It can help you achieve that peace of mind for any security threats you may face in the future.
Awesome.
But thanks for everyone to join us today. If you want to learn more, please connect with me on LinkedIn Live or LinkedIn. And we will be dropping some assets in there. If you do have anything, let us know.